Good morning, everybody, and happy Martin Luther King Day. Are you guys doing any sort of day of service? I did. Oh my gosh, I feel like my glasses are super dirty. I got my first vaccine this morning at 7:30. So anyway, that's not what I came on to talk about today. I came on to talk about the hero's journey, but not the hero's journey. You guys know that I am a huge proponent of the hero's journey. And I have been doing, what is happening up here? Tons of research on the heroine's journey. I have all this stuff. So I'm like floored by it. I think you guys are going to be floored by it. And so I'm going to just dive right in. So the heroine's journey is very, very similar to the hero's journey. And I will post how they're different. I'll post little images or whatever, but it is about embracing your feminine. Okay. And so it's about the understanding the duality that lives within inside of us, like the male, the masculine that's inside of us, and the feminine that's inside of us. And what happens is when we are little, we reject the feminine energy. Okay, there's 8 stages according to this woman, Maureen Murdoch. Okay, and so the first stage as a woman is this rejection of the symbolic mother. Okay, and so it could be a literal mother, but it doesn't necessarily mean a literal. And if you take it metaphorically or symbolically, you'll understand it, I think, on a lot deeper of a level. Okay. So, she could have, the heroine could have a number of reasons why she is rejecting that mother, that feminine. And so, sorry, it's funny reading notes and doing this at the same time. I just have so much to say. And so to her at this time, that mother, that feminine, she's looking at basically the worst of what the feminine represents. Okay, so she might be feeling seeing the feminine as powerless or unhappy or flawed, right? And so basically the mother symbol is threatening to the heroine because she's afraid of becoming her. It's kind of like Luke Skywalker being afraid that he's going to turn into Darth Vader. All right. Alternatively, that heroine could also be rejecting that symbolic mother because that mother might be too intimidating in her strength and her perfection, right? And so the heroine rejects that feminine because of a feeling of inadequacy. Okay. The second symbol in this first stage is the father. Okay. And the father, again, could represent the actual father, but I'm interpreting it as the patriarchy. Okay. And so we then get conditioned as women by the patriarchy. If we follow these cookie cutter steps and get married and have the kids and have the career and do all the things, right, then we are going to be okay. If we climb the ladder, we're going to be getting underpaid and we're going to be overworked, right? And it's about chasing that external carrot. We've been conditioned to not embrace our feminine, which is receiving and loving and fluid and balanced and sensual. These are all feminine aspects of ourselves that we are being told are not okay. We can't ever have a female president because they're too emotional. Yeah, we are feeling beings, right? And we go on a 28-day cycle. We're not in a 24-hour cycle like males are, where it's constant output, right? But we have been conditioned to think that this is what we should be and how we should be and who we should be. And so what happens is the heroine then is always trying to gain the approval and attention of the masculine energy, right? So this could show up in relationships, like the needy girl syndrome that I talk about, where you're just like, oh, can you, like, and the tending and befriending. It could show up in your career, especially if you're in corporate, which is, I mean, male dominated and is pretty much the patriarchy in my book. So it's this constant like approval seeking, right? And attention from the man. And what happens is she discards the feminine. And even though it is still really tied to her, because we have both aspects within ourselves, right? So then the next stage of this is the road of trials, right? This is when in traditional hero's journey, you embark on the path, right? And so what happens in the heroine's journey is that she believes that she has something to prove to herself and to others. This is classic Keeping Up with the Joneses scenario. Like, and she wants something to show others. Look at my ring, look at my house, look at my kids, look at my dog, I've got the white picket fence, I've got the great career, all the shit, right? That we're told that we need to have in order to be successful as a fucking human, right? And so, but the thing is, she's not doing it because she wants to do it. She's doing all of it because she feels she has to, and she's doing these things for everybody else and not herself, okay? And what's happening is she's trying to overcompensate now for that feminine that's just like kind of lurking there, being like, hey, what about me? Hi, right? So then the next stage is the illusion of success. Now this is, so fucking good, okay? And so the illusion of success is that she's okay, so far she's like maintaining all this stuff, like, yeah, I'm doing all the things, and I've got the house and the career and the friends and the thing, and I'm the PTA president or whatever the fuck it is in your life, right? And so all of these things, then all of these like allies are like, oh, hey, yeah, she's doing the thing and she's getting the recognition for the thing. And so, and then what is happening is it's all that external validation, okay? Because she's getting all of that applause from everybody else. And then all the other women are also conditioned to be this way. And they're all like, oh, yeah, that's what we're supposed to be doing. So let's keep on doing this, right? And it becomes systemic. And so what happens is she attains one thing and then she immediately sets out on another quest, right? It's the I'll be happy when. I mean, and it's so true. It's like, think about your own lives when, like, you know, you'd had a boyfriend or a girlfriend, right? And then people are like, oh, that's great. When are you getting engaged? And then you get engaged and people are like, oh, that's great. When are you getting married? Or you get married and then they're like, oh, that's great. When are you going to have kids? And it's that perpetual dangling carrot of I'll be happy when, right? And the more she does, the more she's distracting herself and the more that she is moving farther and farther and farther away from her inner self. And what happens again is like then she has to maintain that outside validation to feel justified as a person. Oh my God. So what happens is she then realizes that there's something missing in her life. And she feels stretched thin and she looks in the mirror and she isn't even sure who's looking back at her. Even with all of these successes and all of these victories, she feels empty. And then what happens, the next stage is the descent, okay? This is where tragedy strikes. For me, as you guys know, it was when my son died. It could be cataclysmic like that, or, or it could be like COVID, or what the hell is going on in our country right now, or it could be a very private matter that only she knows about. But what it is that she is suddenly made aware of what is really important to her. Okay? Because when shit goes down, all that other extraneous stuff does not fucking matter. And I can tell you that like nobody's business. Everything becomes crystal fucking clear. For those who are new to watching me, I curse a lot, okay? And so what happens is she begins a very personal isolation, and she descends into that metaphorical cave. Using my own experience, I know how much that is true. And I remember saying to my mom very early on in my grief, I feel like I'm in a black cave and I can't see where I'm going, and I'm crawling and I have a candle. And my mom, like, God bless her, said, at least you have a candle. And I remember, again, early on in my grief, and as you guys may or may not know, I still have a connection with my son, and he's very much present, and I talk to him or whatever. And I remember very early on, I heard him say to me, be in the blackness, Mom. And I was like really scared to go into that void of grief, but I knew that that was the only way through. Okay. And so this is what that descent is. So again, it could be something cataclysmic. It could be something that is your own personal thing that nobody else knows about, but it is about going into that dark cave. Okay. And that is where the tsunami of emotions happen, whether it is anger or sadness or grief, right? But what happens is we are afraid of going there and feeling those feelings, but we have to. And the fear is like, how will I ever get out of this? Will I just sink into this depression and not ever get out? But the thing is, you have to get into that dark cave and feel all of those tsunamis of feelings, because that is the way out. We have been conditioned to discount our feelings because, there's even a freaking DSM diagnosis, which is like what every therapist uses to diagnose, right? And so there is actually a diagnosis, which is a personality disorder called hysteria. And it was historically for women who were too fucking emotional. I mean, for fuck's sake. And it's still in there. So anyway, have the big emotions. Feel what you have to feel. That is the dark cave. That is what's going to get you out of whatever it is that you're in, that you have to go through it to get through it. Okay? They are what I call the on the floor moments. So what happens next is when you're on the floor, I was on the bathroom floor. Kristen, the DSM is the diagnostic, this is a mouthful. It's the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, and it is basically like the Bible for psychiatry and psychology. And so when a clinician is diagnosing someone who comes into their office, there are DSM diagnoses. So like a DSM diagnosis would be major depressive disorder, or generalized anxiety disorder, or OCD, or schizophrenia, or bipolar, or narcissistic personality disorder, which we have all gotten a huge teaching on the past 4 years. So it's the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, and it's just a whole bunch of diagnoses. So But yeah, hysteria is actually historically in this manual for people to get diagnosed with. So anyway, so when we are feeling our feelings, like we have what I call these on the floor moments where, you know, you're on the bathroom floor. In my case, I was on my son's floor, and it was just these dark moments where you're just like, I can't fucking do this, and you're at a crossroads in your life, right? And that is what the heroine's journey calls the meeting with the goddess. In the hero's journey, it is the dark night of the soul. And so what happens is, it's like you were in so much pain that this part of you surrenders to a higher power, for lack of a better word. And it's just kind of like, okay, universe or God or Jesus or Buddha or nature or my higher self, take over. I can't do this on my own. So that is when the heroine starts to make the shift, right? And so then stage 6 is about reconciliation with that feminine. And so here is when she starts to do all of her healing work, right? And she starts to get familiar again with all of the amazingly positive aspects of the feminine that she rejected, right? And so this is where she, you know, where she nurtures her inner child. Okay, so I do a ton of hypnotherapy in the work that I do, and a huge part of that is going back to those moments that need healing in childhood, and then having them, you know, express what they need to express, and then healing that inner child, because we have to heal these aspects of ourselves so that we could be a whole person. Like, we can't get rid of what happened to us, but if the more that we could heal it, the more we see what our path and our patterns are in life, right? And so when she's reconciling and she's doing this healing work, you know, she wants to bond with that symbolic mother, and there's a new understanding that comes about. So it's about tending to her and being in that feminine and receiving. Like, this is all that divine feminine nature that we've been conditioned. Like, I tell clients, I'm like, if you're having like a shit week, go lay in your pajamas for 3 days and put the covers over your head and be in that funk, because you're gonna get out of it. That's like a little mini cave, right? And we have to learn how to listen to our bodies and our feelings, because our body is the decoder for our higher self, and it's up to our human self to learn how to read the messages that our body is giving us, right? And so with this reconciliation, it is about being patient and allowing yourself to heal. So then once that starts to happen, stage 7 happens, which is the reincorporation of the masculine, okay? And so once you're starting to kind of get out of that metaphorical feeling cave, something happens where all of a sudden you have to take action on something and you have to do something, okay? And so when that happens, so here's the deal. Feminine is being and receiving in just a general little quick essence. And then the masculine energy is action and it's doing. Feminine is the moon. Masculine is the sun, right? And so winter, summer, you know, and hibernation. That's us. We are the moon, and we're hibernation, and we're feelings, and we're intuition, and this is where all our mystical, magical, witchy, powerful stuff lives in our feminine, right? And then the masculine is all about action and doing. So once that healing has happened, that reconciliation of the two parts needs to happen, because that masculine is also important, right? This is the doing and the action phase in our life. And so at this point, the goal is that the masculine energy is also an important part of that journey, that you actually need to have both. And so the last phase is the union, which is all about balance, right? And that's what this is all about. It's learning how to balance both aspects of yourself. That, and then sharing that and that synergy with your community, because that's always part of the hero's journey, is what you learn is what you share with others. And so that's the heroine's journey, and it's so amazing. And I'm going to put up these little like charts and stuff too, because I think they're very cool. That is all I have to share today, and I loved having you guys here. And if you guys have any questions about what I shared, because that was a lot of information, feel free to drop them below. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week. Oh, also, Thursday is the past life regression. Hi, Christy. Is the past life regression workshop from 1 to 3 Pacific time. It is going to be recorded. So if you cannot make it live, it is recorded and sent out to you to do on your own. And then of course, like, you could drop your questions in here if you do have questions or whatever, or DM me or whatever. But it is going to be super, super awesome. It's a beautifully amazing, oh, thanks, Kristen. I'm so glad that you're here. So it's going to be amazing. It's all like a guided visualization. There's time to process. There's time to journal. I'm going to do a brief teaching on the subconscious mind and hypnosis and how it all works. And it's a nice healing 2 hours for the day after the inauguration. And so, yeah, so that is it. Go be in service if you can today by being safe. Otherwise, enjoy your day off, and I will see you next week. Mwah. Bye.